So we've talked about structures that would be predicted by formal charge rules versus structures that we would predict based on the octet rule. So the question is, which rules do we follow? So let's consider PO4 3-. Based on formal charges, what we would predict is we would predict 3 phosphorus oxygen single bonds and 1 phosphorus oxygen double bond. We can compare this to what we would predict versus the octet rule. The octet rule would predict a structure that would have 4 single bonds to the phosphorus. And we would also, for especially this compound, have to list all the resonance structures that go along with this. And there's a continuing debate over which molecule here that chemists would prefer as the dominant structure. Some chemists claim it's the one on the left. Others will claim that it's the one on the right. And now that we have advanced supercomputers that are quicker and quicker at determining the actual structures that we would predict, many chemists still don't see eye to eye on this topic. And this disagreement can serve as a reminder for us that in general, multiple Lewis structures can contribute to the actual electron distribution in any particular atom or molecule. So when you're asked questions on an exam, we will ask you specifically, what will formal charge predict for the proper Lewis structure, and what would the octet rule predict for the proper Lewis structure? So keep this in mind when you're going through and you're looking through various compounds. But one of the things that both of these rules do predict is that they both will say that this has a tetrahedral geometry, and they both predict that there's only going to be one phosphorus oxygen bond length, and there's not going to be multiple bond lengths for this particular molecule. So when you're taking things away from each of these Lewis structures, the geometry is a big thing, and it's the pairs and the electron pairs around the central atom and how they arrange themselves in three-dimensional space that is a big key. And that's going to help us tell whether or not something is polar or whether it's going to be nonpolar. So keep these things in mind as you're going through and you're performing your predictions for which structure would actually form.